Hey guys, welcome into episode 49 of Coffee and Chel, and this is a big one. So we have an extremely special guest you can see on the screen if you're watching from Sportsnet, Jeff Merrick. We had a fantastic interview with him, so we're going to get to that very quickly. But first, as we always do, I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Kesso and Padre. We'll start with you, Kesso. How you been over the last few days? And man, it's almost NHL 23 season, buddy.
Dude, I'm doing great. Our podcast is like legitimate now, right?
It's
So
a
we
thing.
have we have Gamersaloon at the top.
Mm-hmm.
We have like a white whale of a guest.
Yep.
So it's kind of crazy. So it's like it's a legit. It's not just two dudes recording things about NHL 22.
Look at us.
We have the E-Bug from the Blues. You know, obviously been a longtime friend. We have a sponsor. We have Jeff Merrick. So it's going good.
It is wild. How are you doing, Padre?
I'm good. Just, running on fumes with the sleep, but with the baby and everything. But it's been great. Like I've been looking forward to this episode for a long time. I would say you and myself are very big Jeff Merrick fans. It's kind of funny. We were talking about this earlier. It's like we're gonna get players on this podcast, and most people are like, "Oh, I love the players." Like I'm a bigger fan of the the media guys, the guys that I don't know why, like because I'm a hockey nerd, so it's like these guys that break down the trades and the signings. I've always just loved that stuff, and he's such a good dude. I think all you guys that are listening to this are going to absolutely love this.
No, absolutely. Before we get into that, let's talk quickly about some things. Preseason, it is almost done. It's almost wrapped up. No huge injuries, other than maybe, I guess, the Tavares one for a little while. But no huge devastating injuries so far, I don't believe. So that's pretty good. And my Sharks overseas right now in Prague, about to get the season start. Okay, here's the one thing I can't stand. The season starts technically with my Sharks in Nashville overseas, which is fine. Playing it overseas and whatnot. I hate how there's preseason games after it. It is not. It doesn't feel like the official start of the season. So I don't know. That always bothers me. They are going to have a hard time scoring. The Sharks just played. They just played the I believe the German team over there, and it is going to be tough for my Sharks. But hey, I'm okay if they lose 3-2 every single game and go 0-82. I want Connor Bedard. So yeah, I mean it's almost time. Also, the one thing I noticed, I think Kesso and me were talking about this earlier.
I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, the schedule. If you guys go and look, I could have sworn it either every season started with Leafs in Ottawa, just them on one night, or Leafs in Montreal. I don't remember, but I thought it was I know it was the Leafs and somebody. And then there was a day of just every team playing. If you go and look, it's like, I believe the first non-Sharks Nashville game that's overseas, it's like, I believe Tampa Bay and the Rangers, and then one other game on one night, and then it's 6 more the next night, then 10 on the Saturday. There isn't a huge one, and I'm not going to lie, I hate that. I think all teams should play on the Saturday or whatever day it is, because that's the start of the season. I don't know if you guys agree or...
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, you see the NFL do it, like it's
Yeah,
everybody
like,
plays,
man,
and it's like the NHL. And I thought they used to do this. Like I
Same.
could have sworn they used to.
I never
When
noticed
did
until
it
this year.
change?
I never noticed until just...
We
like,
need
this
a
year.
red zone channel for the NHL. I
How do
need
you
like
do that, though?
Yeah,
just
is
goals.
it like special?
Just break in for goals. I would love a goal channel, but
I
it's
guess
So it'd have to
technically-
be on a delay, right?
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
hockey's
red
not big
zone
enough.
is.
Red zone's on delay too, but hockey's just not big enough to I feel like support just
I
a
think
channel just for goals.
I wonder if that's a gambling thing. Football has to be the biggest gambled sport, and I wonder if as hockey as sports betting gets more and more powerful, that it's already that maybe that would be the case. But I think I would love that if it just flip through anytime there's a goal on any game, and then if not, you just leave. A team's on a power play, bang, there's your fill in.
Right.
But yeah, that's actually interesting. I would love to see that. But yeah,
The thing that's difficult with that is hockey, it's always like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Yeah,
Right? But
it's
then there's always
alternate.
those weird days during the season where it's like, oh, there's only 4 games tonight. Like, is it worth it to have
That's true.
I don't know what you would call
Good
it.
point.
I would love to find out. Anyone that is from Boston in my in this that listens to us, please let me know why you guys have the early bird special every Sunday, and you guys have games at noon or 1 on every it's every weekend. It's always the Bruins, and the reason why I notice it so much is because it's an automatic L for the Sharks, or basically any West Coast team. Because I look at it these guys, it's 9 o'clock for them, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna play the Bruins. That's it. Just they're gonna get shelled here because of that. Not only because they're bad, but I don't know what it is. It's they're so early every weekend. Same with Chicago too. I don't know if that's a original six thing or if there's some history behind that. We should ask Jeff this, but but maybe we'll bring it up next time. So, all right, before we get into the interview, because I am so fired up for you guys to listen to this, we're gonna give our award predictions, and then we'll hop over to the interview. So, we'll fly through these. Art Ross, Kesso.
McDavid.
Yeah, and
McDavid.
yeah, it's McDavid across the board. I really don't see, obviously there's some other potential. I mean, Draisaitl, probably, but outside of that, I just don't think anyone. Maybe Matthews, but I don't know. I don't think that he has the assist to pile up that. The Hart Trophy. What did you guys have?
McDavid.
I had Shesterkin. I think that. I don't know. I think he should have won it this year, to be honest with you. But again, we'll talk about this in a little bit later. But man, the Rangers were just they got dragged, and he looks like he is the next unbelievable goaltender. Rocket Richard, we all had Matthews. Yeah. I think that low key Kaprizov, or someone like I don't know. I don't know why Kaprizov, because I feel like he's still a playmaker a little bit, but like.
It's because that Russian name. That's what's making.
That's it. It's it. Yeah. You just automatically assume Russian winger has to be in line for the a couple seasons as a Art Ross winner or a Rocket Richard winner. The Makar Trophy. It is Makar's until it's not.
Yeah.
Selke, I had Barkov.
I want to see Bergeron win it again. I wonder if some point Crosby's going to get like just one of those respect ones too. But Bergeron or Barkov.
Yeah, I don't know. I was wondering about like Elias Lindholm because of last year. He was really coming hard last year, and there was a lot of talk about him. But I mean, if it's Bergeron's last year, which we've been saying that for I guess like 2 years now, I think Bergeron will probably win it again.
Yep, more than likely, especially because like that seems to be like
like a tribute.
Yeah, exactly. He's won it so much, so
he deserves it, but it definitely is. Yeah.
The Vezina, I had Shesterkin. I believe you did too.
I did too.
You talked yourself out of Saros.
Well, I just said like my hot take with my heart. I would love it to be Saros. I'm a little goalie myself, so watching a guy like that, great set of pads too. Love the all yellows.
Dude, what do you think of Hellberg's pads? And then they got rid of them.
They were sick, but I mean, I feel like you're not going to play for the Kraken probably anyway. So it's their goaltending depth is, I mean, think about it. They have Martin Jones as their backup to Grubauer, and then Driedger's still but Driedger's still there too, but he's hurt. Yeah. But Driedger's hurt, so that's why they got Jones. And I think Jones will be the backup for Grubauer, obviously. But it's like that Hellberg was like fourth on the depth chart if you think about it.
Jones was
very good, very nice pads.
Jones was absolutely incredible for the Sharks during a few of the playoff runs, and I will always be thankful for what he did for the team. He is the perfect Bedard goaltender, though. Like, I'm stunned that Chicago hasn't gone out and gotten Martin Jones, and if he's waived, I wouldn't be stunned if Chicago claims him. I believe you had Vazzy.
I did. I'm low. So I think Shesterkin's probably going to be the best goalie for a while. I'm low on the Rangers. I'm low on the Rangers. I like Vasilevsky, so I'm going to go there.
I think Vazzy's got one more year, maybe, and then the team maybe takes I don't know. You can't ever count Tampa out. They're so good. Calder, you guys had Power. I had Beniers. This is like, I guess this is just kind of chalk. There's a few other options, maybe. I think that when it comes to the Calder, opportunity is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Beniers is going to be the first-line center for the Kraken. So if you get 20 minutes a night, you're automatically... And then, obviously, Owen Power. But, that plus-minus is going to be absolutely brutal. So I don't know if he's going to have enough points to make up for that. Lastly, the Jack Adams. I had Dean Evison, the Minnesota Wild head coach, because I feel like if the Wild make the playoffs with $14 million dead cap, I think that's pretty impressive. But what about you guys? Any ideas?
I mean, I mentioned this to Jeff. I hate the award. It's always it's terribly done. Give it to Mike Sullivan. He's been a great coach for a while.
He is a great coach. I'm going to go with Bruce Cassidy out in Vegas. I know he wasn't like loved in Boston at the end of his tenure, but I feel like a lot of people are down on Vegas. I think they're going to have a good team. As you guys heard weeks ago, my predictions, I think they're going to win the Pacific. But like that team, I have a feeling they're going to be good, and people are going to be like, wow, where'd they come from all of a sudden? I thought they were supposed to be terrible, and Jack Eichel's actually a good hockey player. People act like they're, he's so bad and stuff. So I'm going to go with Bruce Cassidy in Vegas, just on a rebound year. Let's say that.
Okay. All right, that's enough of us. This was actually such a fun interview, guys. So let us know what you think in the comment section down below. We can't thank Jeff enough for coming on and spending some time talking hockey and predictions with us. We got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Gamersaloon. They are phenomenal. And if you are looking to get better at NHL or any sports video game, or even really like any video game, Gamersaloon is where you've got to do it. If Money Games is, if you're already good at the game and you want to test it, playing a money game will get that adrenaline flying. And Gamersaloon is where you gotta do it. So Gamersaloon.com, make sure you check them out. All right, let's get into the interview. All right, guys, so we are super pleased to welcome in our guest, co-host of 32 Thoughts, the podcast, and from Sportsnet, my man Jeff Merrick. Jeff, thank you again for jumping on and talking awards and a lot of history. I feel like we're gonna talk about.
Probably, and I want to thank you for wearing your finest Niagara Ice Dogs baseball hat, making me feel right at home with some OHL love. I appreciate that.
I told the other guy, I told the guys, I'm like, man, I know he's a big major junior guy. The guy gotta talk about.
Did you put that on for me coming on?
No, I was wearing this. I'm a big Dogs fan. I'm a big Dogs fan.
I'm that much of a cliche. This idiot likes the OHL. I don't know. I got an Ice Dogs hat somewhere in the back. I'll throw that on. I might make him feel at home.
Speaking of the Dogs, former Ice Dog Jason Robertson still remains unsigned. I want to start with this because some big news tonight. We're recording this on Tuesday, October 4th. Matthew Barzal signs for just over $9 million. Yep. Do you think that this has more impact on the negotiations with Jason Robinson, or do you think that this is just kind of ignored and they're still in their own like ecosystem?
I don't know as much. I'm not so sure if Matthew Barzal's contract has an effect on it. I'll tell you what, and this is sending a chill up a lot of GM spines. I think the Tim Stützle deal has a lot to do with it. I think the Jordan Kyrou deal has a lot to do with it. I think you can make the argument the Tage Thompson deal has a lot to do with it as well. I think Jason Robertson's camp, and he's a CAA guy represented by Pat Brisson, I think he's looking at all these deals and saying, hang on a second here. Does anybody have a number 42 beside their name? Because I do. I scored 42 goals last season, and I should be compensated as such. So I'm pretty sure that, because this is all about comparables, right? Like, what are you looking at? What's fair? Who are the comparables here? I heard about a month ago that one of the comparables they were working with, and again, this is only a 5-year. This wouldn't be, well, maybe he ends up doing a 5-year deal. We'll see. But one of the comparables they were working with was Kapril Kaprizov of the Minnesota Wild. That was one of them. Now, I'm sure there are many, and I'm sure that as Kyrou gets his deal and Stützle gets his deal, I'm sure Jim Nill is looking at this and just going, oh, like seriously, like we're almost at the finish line, and then this drops. This is a complicated one. This is a complicated one. I know there are players on the Dallas Stars that have reached out. I mean, this is standard. That have reached out to Jason Robertson. Hey man, we're real close. We got a real good team. It's a competitive division, competitive conference. We got to do this. Come on, man. Let's get this done. My podcast wife, Elliot, seems to think that, it's going to be a saw off 3 years, $7.5 million. That's my work spouse thinks. I could see that. I think the Robertson camp might want something a little bit longer, but every day that goes by, you kind of wonder, what's the holdup, and maybe more importantly, what's the decimal point that both sides are working with, and make no mistake, like if this is really long-winded, I apologize.
Oh no, the floor is yours, buddy.
If you're new to me, get used to it. So I suck all the oxygen out of the room here. The interesting thing about this is if it goes higher than 7.5, Jim Nill's going to have to make a move. Mm-hmm. Like there's going to have to be bodies going. I think they have room to accommodate 7 or maybe 7.5. If there's more sugar in that coffee than 7.5, I think the Stars are going to have to make a move here to free up the cap space to make it happen. Now that might just be as simple as you find someone to take Anton Khudobin and you add a sweetener with it. That could be it. You have to do something more substantial than that. I don't know, but this one is poised to be a whopper of a contract.
And as a goalie, so far, what I've noticed with Khudobin, he doesn't look great so far. I know it's preseason hockey, but I don't know.
You know what the one thing is though, Tyler, is he's healthy.
That's true.
That's like the one hurdle. Like I know he's not exactly like he's not this guy's not 22 years old.
Right.
I know he's not just on the back nine, but he can see the clubhouse with the career here. So I get it. But the one thing that Dallas does have working in their advantage if they want to move Hudobin is he's healthy.
Right. He's finally healthy. All right. So we got some storylines going in the season. Obviously, we got some, we got the big whopper, and thank God he's finally going to leave. Hopefully the Central Division, Patrick Kane. I hope he doesn't somehow end up in Dallas. But what do you think?
Ooh, that's a swerve.
Yeah, I know. You never know. They've had the trade history with Patrick Sharp and all that stuff. So it's
true.
I don't know. But where do you think Patrick Kane goes? And do you think he resigns there if he does get traded? And I keep hearing it's going to be at the deadline just because it cuts his contract in half and it makes it easier to move.
I think okay, well, first of all, Edmonton was very interested in the offseason. Like Edmonton, and to make a deal like that happen, it would have been, Hawks retaining half and then another team involved to take a piece of the contract to make it work with the salary cap. And that might be what we're looking at right now, regardless with any Patrick Kane deal. Because let's not forget, I mean, he's only going to go to a team that's competitive. He's only going to go to a team that has a shot at the Stanley Cup. And, most, if not all of those teams are capped out. So making the money work is going to be a challenge there. If I just wanted to give you a flippant, glib kind of answer, I'd say Colorado, but really the answer, the real answer is it depends on who's good, and it depends on when Patrick Kane wants to go. Like Patrick Kane doesn't have to go at all. I think he probably will end up. I think we're all on the same page that Patrick Kane's going to have a different zip code by the time trade deadline is come and gone. But I think what Patrick Kane is going to do is, take the better part of this season and figure out who's good and who's got a shot. Yeah. I mean, why make your call now? Like if you're thinking of going to a team like, I don't know, let's say the Boston Bruins, for example, you think like, hey, and Chicago likes the offer and you can make it work. And the thoughts of playing with, either Patrice Bergeron or David Krejci are attractive to Patrick Kane. What if the wheels fall off the wagon? Like that's a fragile team right now by way of injuries. Like we all know, the hospital bracelet story is the story with the Boston Bruins to kick off this season. What if that doesn't work out for the Boston Bruins? And Pat Kane's already said, yeah, I'm going and I'll go to the Boston Bruins. I think he takes his time. Yeah. I think he takes his time. I think he reads the landscape and says, okay, this team is good. This is where I fit. This is my spot. Kyle, this is where I want to go.
Yeah. It seems like it's him and Taves. One of them almost is going to end up on the Avalanche. I don't know why. I just feel like with losing Kadri and,
so I talked to someone who's really plugged into this one last season. And his thought was, and I agree with him, at trade deadline last season, when it became obvious that, like, look, man, Chicago is going to have to readjust everything. There were two deals that made sense to him. One was when it became obvious that Claude Giroux was only going to go to Philadelphia. That was going to be his thought was Kane to Colorado and Jonathan Taves to Boston, because they were scrambling for that second line center hole. Right. David Krejci had already left. Now, of course, he's come back. And then Jonathan Taves could just go to Boston, where he wouldn't have to be anything but a hockey player. Like, you guys know this feeling, right? Like when you're Jonathan Taves, captain of the Chicago Blackhawks, there's a whole lot of, responsible for the young kids and shepherd the team and all that kind of stuff. You play second behind Patrice Bergeron, you can just go there and be a hockey player, and all that pressure is off. And, if you're the Boston Bruins, you hope you have a run with someone like Jonathan Taves in the lineup. Neither thing happened, but just sort of lob these, flavor pucks and ideas out to your listeners.
It's amazing what happens when Bruce Cassidy left Boston. All of a sudden, Krejci's back, and DeBrusque pulls his trade request.
Funny how that works out.
Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah, listen, it was. There's been a lot of people that have wondered too. Would Nick Lidstrom have retired if Mike Babcock hadn't been coaching at that point too? Huh. Right? I mean, you never really know, and no player is really going to admit it. But that's one of the things that's out there.
We love what ifs on this podcast. Kessler, you got a good what if for him.
Yeah, I do. So as
what's your what if?
Yeah, so my what if. So I'm a Penguins fan, as mentioned, right? So there were some tough years during my early years. We had a year where Dick Tarnstrom was our highest scoring player. Yeah. One of the best days, obviously, of my life was when we won the Crosby lottery. That was a tough day for your friend Brian Burke, but I mean, he finally got Crosby. He got Crosby in a way. So there's a scenario where Crosby goes to the Ducks. Is that the biggest? Do you think that's the biggest what if in hockey history? If it's not, do you have any others that come to mind?
As far as what ifs,
Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
The Penguins might not even be around.
The Penguins might not be around.
Like,
that's for sure.
You know, any of them around a draft. I mean, I'll give you another one. As far as the Pittsburgh Penguins, like when Mario Lemieux was, like, listen, he was going to be the number one pick all day long coming out of the Quebec League. There were teams that offered a lot. The Minnesota North Stars offered every single pick. The Quebec Nordiques offered all three Stastny brothers plus for Mario.
Crazy.
Like there were, like, I love draft trade offer stories. Like those to me are the juiciest. I think that Mario one, because I think the Quebec deal really, because I know Montreal made an offer as well. I mean, it's Mario Lemieux. And then I think when they found out that Quebec made that sizable offer, all of a sudden they sweetened their deal as well. Don't forget, Mario Lemieux wasn't going to go to the Penguins, right? Like, I mean, it worked out great and he saved the franchise twice.
Yeah.
But at the draft, there was all that talk that Mario was saying, like, I'm not going to play for Pittsburgh. I want to play in Quebec. And there was that huge race. Right. There was the Quebec Nordiques and the Montreal Canadiens, just piling on Eddie Johnson, like adding value to any trade. And the Pittsburgh Penguins, EJ just, said, no, forget it. We're going to hang on to this guy. And it was the right move. That would be the big one that would come to me. I always wonder what would have happened if the Eric Lindros trade didn't happen. And he ended up playing in Quebec.
Crazy how good that team ended
Peter,
up too.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other one that I would have loved. For the longest time, like I grew up, in the 70s and 80s era, and the slander against Swedish hockey players was huge, right? Chicken Swede, Harold Ballard used to say about Inga Hammerstrom on the Toronto Maple Leafs. He could go into the corner with eggs in his pockets and come out and not one of them would be broken. Like there was just like nonstop like ridicule of Swedish hockey. Oh, they're too soft to play. And then with Peter Forsberg, I mean, it's funny because he's part of the Eric Lindros. We think about what Lindros was. You could make the argument that the best power forward in the game was a Swede in Peter Forsberg. And how that would have changed the Philadelphia Flyers.
Right.
Would they have ended up winning Stanley Cups with Peter Forsberg in the lineup and not Eric Lindros? Or if the arbitrator would have awarded Lindros to the New York Rangers instead of the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, I'm in love with the alternate. I mean, I'm glad you asked this question because I'm in love with the alternate or alternative NHL, like this other stream, trades that go a different way. Like if Patrick Waugh doesn't get lit up against the Detroit Red Wings, if they actually give him the hook, like it's so much. It's funny because we mentioned Patrick Waugh before. Like, do the Colorado Avalanche ever win the Stanley Cup if they don't leave Patrick Waugh in that game against the Detroit Red Wings? Like if they give him the hook after 4 goals, like. Do the Avalanche ever win? Because that was the final piece, and they weren't winning with the goaltenders they had. Like there's not a chance. What happens with the Colorado Avalanche, which is why I always say this at the beginning of every season. And I know we're going to do predictions later. My answer to all of them is I don't know because I really don't. But, there's so much of the game either around the game or in the game itself that we don't like to talk about because we have no way of quantifying it. And that's just luck, man.
A lot of luck.
So much of this just revolves around luck. Like the game itself, like it's cold water and it's a rubber puck and it's, it's 10 bodies out there and 2 goaltenders. I will share one thing with you. There's kind of a white whale that I have in my career and I haven't been able to figure out what it meant. And no one that I've talked to, and this includes Berkey, who was freaking there for it. So if you go back and you watch the video of the Pittsburgh Penguins, winning the lottery, they're going to get Sidney Crosby. The Anaheim Ducks will select second. And as we know, they took Bobby Ryan. Bill Wirtz, the late owner of the Chicago Blackhawks, you can hear him because they're all there in the room, right? You can hear Bill Wirtz over and over again saying, justice. And I've had long conversations with like Ron McLean about this. Ron and I have talked about, the Bill Wirtz, justice phenomenon. no one knows what he was saying. Now, Bill's no longer with us,
Right.
but no one that I've talked to in the Blackhawks organization has been able to tell me with any type of authority what Bill Wirtz was thinking. I thought maybe it wasn't justice he was saying. He just ordered a scotch and he's trying to say just ice. I don't know. But that to me is one of my big white whales coming off of that draft specifically. Why was Bill Wirtz yelling justice, justice, justice when the Blackhawks won the lottery over the Anaheim Ducks? Don't know.
I've got a little follow-up what if, I guess I just thought of.
Okay.
What if I feel like I've said this before too, I think it helps out 3 franchises. What if John Tavares accepts the San Jose Sharks offer?
So that was been in a little bit of dispute too, but that is an interesting one. Well, then, do the Toronto Maple Leafs ever trade Nazem Kadri?
Maybe not. I think they might have Petro. Just the timing, like there's, you know what I mean? Like there's how that works out. But their cap situation might be a little bit different. They might have that number 1 defense. The Sharks.
Yeah.
I will say this. I like watching Erik Karlsson when he isn't hurt. He is a lot better than people give him credit for in the numbers, and obviously he has had his worst season of his career as a Sharks fan. But if John Tavares is a San Jose Shark, that window, the last few years of Marleau and Thornton, and they're arguably, in my opinion, their best team when they lost to the Blues in the conference final. If they have John Tavares, I think they might win the cup there. But that's one that always comes to my mind. That's why gets booed when he goes to San Jose. It's just that one will hurt me for a while, especially given the contract situation. It's
or what if he would have said yes to the Islanders?
That's another one. Like the Islanders might be they just struggled to really score and since he's left, right? And just a lot of I think a big one too that we could go all day, but the 3 Boston Bruins picks in 2015.
Because who was after? Who was
Connor Shabbat and
Cal Connor, Thomas
Barzal.
Shabbat, and Matthew Barzal. Like,
can you imagine they got all 3 of those?
Or you know what? Let's do another one.
Yeah, here we go.
So here's the one. As everybody points to, the downfall of the Edmonton Oilers before Connor McDavid. And they point to the Taylor Hall, Adam Larson trade, right? The 1-for-1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that trade was that bad. Like, it wasn't great. Taylor Hall goes on to win a Hart Trophy. And he's fantastic for the New Jersey Devils. But to me, the trade that really killed the Oilers was the Griffin Reinhart for 16 and 33.
It's
like that was one. And I've talked to a number of people in Edmonton in the organization. I said, if you would have hung on to those 2 picks, who were you taking 16? And they said Joel Eriksson-Ek. Joel Eriksson-Ek was going to be their guy. Now, again, go back to the what if. What if they don't make that? Because I think that's the one that really hurt them more than any other deal in that era. I think they don't make that trade.
I think the Oilers, even after ever since McDavid, if they didn't have pretend they just coasted, auto, didn't make any moves, it's tough. Like they seem to shoot themselves in the foot and go backwards with the two of the best players in the world. Speaking of among the best players in the world, I am from just outside Toronto, and you obviously cover the Leafs pretty much every day. Something that we talk a lot about with our audience, and we've brought up a few times is Auston Matthews and the looming contract situation with Auston Matthews, because it's coming. Do you sense, as of right now, so this is October 4th, 2022. Yeah, if do you sense that there is any shot that Auston Matthews does not remain a Toronto Maple Leaf, a percentage?
I think he remains a Toronto Maple Leaf, but not for as long as Maple Leafs fans want. I think he signs an extension with Toronto, but I don't think it's going to be one of these 7 or 8 year deals. I think it's going to be a shorter deal where Maple Leafs fans will go, yeah, we got him.
Okay.
But are we going to have to do all this over again? I think that, his agent, Judd Moldaver with Wasserman, is a really, really sharp guy. Right. And he really reads this landscape well, I believe. Like, he did a great job with the Roman Josi contract. That was fantastic. The Auston Matthews deal is a real nice bit of business. How he got Matthews, at 5 years for that decimal point. It's a really good deal. I think he gets Matthews a big ticket. I think it's a big ticket deal, but it's not it's not the length that Maple Leafs fans would want.
13 for
and
3.
I think, yeah, and I think not that it's. I mean, listen, everyone's competitive, right? Nathan McKinnon is now the highest paid player by way of AAV in the NHL. Not that I'm putting too much on this here, but he's represented by Pat Brisson. I think there's that agent rivalry that we don't. It's funny, we never really talk about agent rivalry.
No, we don't.
Contracts, but Judd and Pat here, like, make no mistake about it. Like, that thing does exist in the industry, and if you have a chance to be on top of an industry rival, I think you do it. I think that Matthews ends up the highest paid player in the NHL. It's funny. One person I was talking to was an assistant general manager a couple of days ago about Matthews, and I said, I think the number is going to be like 14, and he goes, we've been talking here about 15 for Auston Matthews.
Wow. My goodness.
So who knows where this one's going, boys?
I still feel like if he doesn't go home to Arizona, and trust me, I understand there's some that came out tonight I saw in the Twitter sphere where I guess the players are not too pleased with the arena. And I mean, it makes sense. I skate with a few NHLers during the summertime and they all make fun of it and they can't believe they're going to have to play there. I get it. Yeah. But the LA Kings with Kopitar ending in 2 years, it lines up perfectly. If he wanted to go to LA, Hollywood, I don't know if he wants to, play there or not, but it just, there's a lot of rumblings about LA always, and I feel like it makes a lot of sense.
The only fly in that ointment that I would throw your way is when that happens, the Maple Leafs will still have more cap space.
That's true.
To absorb a larger deal than the Los Angeles Kings. Don't forget, like, Rob Blake's added some tickets here.
Yeah, Fiala,
right?
Fiala.
Yeah, keep going. Like there's a couple more. So like they still have some beauty decimal points there. So Maple Leafs will technically still have like who knows? We're talking about something happening deeper in the future here, but Toronto will still have the more cap space than Los Angeles will to bring them in.
Sure.
All right, let's get into our award predictions. Okay.
Oh geez. I haven't done my award predictions for Sportsnet yet, so I got to remember what I say here so I'm consistent. I'm just gonna fly off the hand.
I think Sportsnet might have a few more eyeballs on them.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You don't have anything to worry about.
Not for long.
All right.
Yeah. All right, in my opinion, I think this. We mentioned this off before we started recording. I think this might be the most chalk year for a lot of the awards. So we'll hear yours, and if we've all said the same one, like to hear maybe if that person doesn't win. So, we'll start first. Art Ross, who do you got?
Connor McDavid.
Okay, we all said Connor McDavid. Yeah.
Now, hang on, if I wanted to hot take this thing, I'd say Cale Makar. But
do you think that's in the realm, like to score?
I think he's in the conversation, man. I think he's right in there. This guy is. I've always said that. I shouldn't say always. I've said this recently about Cale Makar. If Connor McDavid were a defenseman, he'd be Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Like, that's how highly I think of Cale Makar. Now, having said that, I think it'll be between Draisaitl and Connor again.
Okay. The Hart. Who do you got for the Hart?
Last time I took Igor Shesterkin. I think it should always go to a goaltender. Because by definition of the trophy itself, like, how does it not go to a goalie?
There we go, goalies.
I can hear you smiling there, Tyler. I know you're gonna pop up on that one. Every goalie is more important than anybody else on the roster. I'll take Safe Smooth. Oh no, you know what? No, I'll take Cale Makar.
Okay, we are a little bit different on that. They Kezo and Tyler, they had McDavid, and I went with Shesterkin. I think that even how good he was, I think he should have won it this year, just given how the Rangers played. I think that he really...
First half.
Yeah.
First half, the Rangers just let him, hung him out to dry.
You look at Georgiev's numbers. I know. And it's jarring for anyone that isn't a diehard Ranger fan. If you just go and look, it is pretty crazy. Rocket Richard.
Auston Matthews.
We are all across the board on Matthews. That one.
I think it's Matthews. Yeah.
If it's not Matthews, who you got?
I really want it to be Patrick Laine, but it's not. I just love Patrick. I just love Patrick Laine. I can't see it being him though. You want me to hot take it?
Let's go.
Andrei Svechnikov.
Okay.
That's way off the board, yeah.
I was gonna say Kaprizov. I think he might be in the run.
It's gotta happen one year for him, right?
Yeah, man.
I want to see Ovi win one more. That's how I feel.
I do. That it could be. I just wonder if he's gonna have the centers to do it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the only thing, and that's the only. I mean, I still think he gets the Gretzky record too, but I just want. I mean, with Backstrom's health situation, I mean, he's been feeding them, just feed for all these years. That's the only thing that I wonder about. But like Minnie, it's one of the it's like we always talk about hockey joy. Watching that guy score, come on.
Yeah.
The next up is the Norris, and I said this earlier when you hopped on. This is Makar's until he decides that he is not playing anymore, essentially.
So in 1967, okay, 1967.
Good year for the Leafs.
It was the last good year for the Leafs. Matter of fact, 1967, they awarded the Norris Trophy to Harry Howell, who had never won the Norris Trophy before. Harry Howell was a really good defenseman. But, there's a lot of good defensemen that ended up winning the Norris Trophy and just not him. You know why they gave it to Harry Howell? This is the theory. They gave it to Harry Howell because they knew it was going to be his last chance ever to win it because Bobby Orr was going to dominate it for like 10 years. And so they gave it to Harry. I was like, Harry, enjoy, because Bobby Orr is taking this now. Like for the next 10 years. Kill Makar.
I think they need
Kill Makar going away.
They need a defensive. If there was ever a time in the history of sports and media and how much we have influence, like I just feel like now is the time, given what's going to happen with Cale Makar, that defensive defenseman trophy should be a thing. You know
why I like that? Here's why I like that idea a lot, and here's why. Because what's the most underrepresented player in the Hockey Hall of Fame?
The most type of player or player specifically?
Yeah, type of player.
Oh, defensive defenseman, like the guys that the rock solid.
That's why I was happy to see Kevin Lowe get in.
I watched Mark-Ever Vlasic, and you would never hear his name for an entire season. And there is a reason why he was on Team Canada's roster, and everyone was stunned about it.
Hey, don't forget about Barrett Jackman winning the Calder over Rick Nash and Henrik Zetterberg. Barrett Jackman is meat and potatoes if you've ever seen him on the back end. I love
and that guy was raw bone tough too, man. I loved Barrett Jackman. But no, like the defensive defenseman is like so underrepresented in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Like
who would win it this year?
Weighs in Jacob Slavin.
I was about to say it's Slavin. I feel like Slavin is classic.
But you know what? I'll tell you what. You know who would be in the Hall of Fame if they recognize that? Adam Foote. Adam Foote would be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But those guys, they don't get the credit. That's why, as I mentioned, that's why I was happy that Kevin Lowe got in. Because finally I was like, oh, okay. So let's a little bit of a nod towards a defensive defenseman.
So much like the Norris, I'm curious if you have the same sentiment here. The Vezina, is this
okay?
For a while.
I think so, but here's what I wonder about. What about Elias Sorokin?
Yeah,
it's funny because he was.
I know
had more hype for a little while.
I know it's a little bit hipster. Right, to go with Sorokin as like it's the Shesterkin universe right now, to say nothing of maybe a Vasilevsky universe right now. But like Tyler's nodding, and I'll defer to the goaltender here on the panel. Like, what do you think about Sorokin for the goalie of the year?
I love Sorokin, and we did our predictions a few weeks ago. We had a few episodes ago, and I'm high on the Islanders. I'm not like saying they're going to win the division, but last year was starting out on the road, with the arena situation, and then they had the worst, I think, situation with COVID when it comes to getting kind of screwed over. But I mean, Sorokin is so good in that team, the system they play, and I think they're going to be a little bit more offensive, obviously, with Lambert in there. And I don't know. I feel like he's like highly underrated just because I feel like anybody that plays in the Islanders is underrated. It's just like that. It's the second, it's like the ugly, stepsister or whatever you call it, like for New York teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like Sorokin here as a hipster pick. I mean, listen, there's the thing about sports is it lives in this weird place between what your head knows but your heart feels. Like my head knows Shesterkin's going to win this thing, But my heart's like, yeah, go hipster pick. Take Sorokin. Be that guy, right? Be that guy at the coffee shop. Well, actually, if you see in the goaltender, be that guy and take Sorokin.
That was what I was telling the guys earlier. I was like, I would love to see Saros win it because I'm a small goalie myself, and I love UC Saros.
The thing about it's funny. I was having a conversation with someone. Was it last year? Maybe the year before? A goalie coach from a team, and I was asking about teams always defaulting to large goaltenders. And is there a size that's too big to be effective? And the thing about big goalies versus small goalies, and he was a big, and it's not Nashville, but he was a big Saros guy. He's like, here's the thing that I love about Saros. Tyler, you'll get this right away. He goes, with big goaltenders, you can always count on a few accidental saves, saves that are made just because the guy's big.
Sounds like a video game,
right? Like, yeah, like how do you stop that? He doesn't even know. It was an accident. He's just big. He just happened to be there. So the thing about Saros is like all those saves are like real saves.
Oh, yeah.
There's no accidental saves at all. Like those are all legit saves, man. Not just like he was big and so he blocked that. Like, no, man, the Saros saves are saves, man. I'm with you. I'd love to see Saros with it. I love it too. I know that, we talk about the embarrassment of riches, like with the Rangers going from like Richter to Lundqvist to Shesterkin. But look what Nashville's done. Freaking Pekka Rinne to UC Saros.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That's pretty good too.
No, you're right on that one. Let's do Calder next. I feel like this one's a little bit more wide open.
Here's who I want to win it. Mason McTavish.
Okay.
I love this kid for a number of reasons. One, he's an outstanding hockey player. But two, you look at where this kid's played in the last couple of years. Has he spent a night at home? And moreover, where does he consider home?
Yep.
Like he has been all over playing with so many different teams. Like, you got to wonder, like, do you just completely feel like ungrounded? Like you go to all these different tournaments, playing for different teams, traded in the OHL, bouncing around everyone, and I love them. Like I think long term, you look at the Anaheim Ducks, and I know everyone's crazy about Trevor Zegras, and for good reason, like super high skill. I think Zegras ends up the number 2 center. I think Mason McTavish ends up as your, we look for the replacement for Ryan Getzlaf. I think that's Mason McTavish. I think long term, Mason McTavish is your number 1, and Trevor Zegras is your number 2. I love this kid. I know everyone's giving this thing to Owen Power, Cole Caulfield, etc. I don't know, man. I'm pulling for Mason McTavish.
I feel real Zetterberg Datsuk vibes potentially. Like that was a lofty shoot between Zegras and McTavish.
The only difference is, when you look at Zetterberg and you look at Datsuk, this was always a luxury that Mike Babcock had. Like think about this: when your best offensive players are also your best defensive players, how do you lose a matchup? And I don't know. I don't know that we're saying that about, with all due respect, I don't know that we're saying that about Zegras. Maybe Mason McTavish, but I just don't know that we're saying that about Zegras. But like Zetterberg, both those guys are two of my favorites. Like, good. How do you lose a matchup?
You're right.
It's impossible when you have guys like that.
They had Power. I had Beniers. I've had a hot take as a Sharks fan.
I can do Matty Beniers too.
You got to have the opportunity.
I'm that one.
Right,
yeah.
like that's big, right? So he's gonna have.
The thing about Owen Power, I think it'll be tough to give it.
You got to put up a lot. I mean, like Sider just did, but
yeah, the defenseman when they call their back-to-back seasons, that's real tough. I'm not saying you can't do it, and he looks real good, no doubt about it. I just don't know about a defenseman winning it 2 years in a row. Could be wrong. Happy to be wrong. Like I grew up in Southwestern Ontario watching. Like I was in the era where, you only got, a couple of games a week to watch on television. Saturday was Hockey Night in Canada, and that was Maple Leafs, and you saw one other Maple Leaf game during the week. But I watched a ton of Buffalo Sabres games. I've always had a real soft spot in my heart. Well,
the
Sabres,
right? Yeah, I love the Sabres, man.
You're right there, the Swords. Yeah. You probably went to the old Odd like I used to too. So, I grew up in the era of the French Connection and Larry Playfair and King Kong Korab and Mike Robitaille and these dudes. And
I was more Drury and Pekka, but
no, I get it. I'm aging myself, and you're like, well, what about like Danny Briere?
Yeah, Danny
Brian
Briere.
Campbell?
Those are the Sabres I think about.
Those guys were great too. I really wish they were a fun team to watch. Hey,
best cap era team because they had no cap. Like they had no budget. Like it was just
okay.
so
Where were you when Brian Campbell just destroyed RJ Umberger?
That one I was actually watching. I had season tickets that year. I was watching that one on TV. That's one of the most memorable that season.
Oh,
like the Andrew Peters and Ray Emery, like that. Like that team had so much. Like I always
that team was fun. And you know who was the sneakiest, dirtiest player, maybe in the league, who had like the Eddie Haskell smile, the whole Danny Briere.
Oh yeah.
There was no one dirtier at face-offs. Like how many times did you see Danny Briere like choke up on the stick and smack a guy in the cheek, like on the pivot? He was the best. And he come out of it and he's got that like smiling face, like
and he's not imposing. Like he
looks like he's like he's like in his late 20s and looks like he's like 11-teen. He looks like he's not even a teenager at that point.
You mix smile.
You're like, oh no, he was so, and that's a compliment.
You mix
so sneaky dirty.
You mix in Maxim Afenaganov, man, like that. Oh god, I
he
love.
He was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I love the Sabres. Kessel, you take the next ones.
Yeah, so we have and I don't like this award. I'm going to preface that the Jack Adams, okay? Because to me, this award's always which team was supposed to be bad, overperformed, and let's give it to somebody. So who do you have for the Jack Adams?
This is the PDO award, right? This is the high shooting percentage, high save percentage, or this is it's the old saying, "Show me a good goalie, and I'll show you a good coach." I mean, those two positions are always nailed. I'm with you. I mean, it's the easy story. So you think when Bob Hartley won at Calgary, same thing. Patrick Waugh wins at Colorado, same thing. It's like make a bad team good, right?
I forgot Patrick Waugh won it.
Oh,
that's funny to think about.
That's insane to think about. That's insane to think about.
Well, and do you remember how he did it too? Like he came in from junior hockey playing Quebec Ramparts, and all of a sudden, I remember watching Avalanche games, and I'm like, is he playing like man-on-man defense in his own zone? Like, are we watching junior hockey here?
6 minutes left.
Well, that was great too. But just
so I like that one actually.
Like stylistically, I'm like, I'm watching man-on-man coverage. What? This is craziness. Anyway, I still can't believe that John Cooper hasn't won this thing.
That's the worst part.
Like, I always say John Cooper, like if you can keep an elite team elite and
like, you do your job.
You're doing your job. Like when we all saw, like you got the team there and you've kept them there.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a team that, what's the old saying? If you're not hungry, you won't eat.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that's already had the meal, but they're still hungry. Like we all saw the Stanley Cup final. We talk about no passengers, that team had no passengers at all. Like going into every season, I always look at it and I say John Cooper should win.
This could be
unless
his best
someone
chance.
else pulls out. It might,
considering the state of what you would consider the Lightning will still be great, but I don't think they lost a little bit of that shine.
I never want to write them off.
No, you can't.
I'm scared to write them off. Like I know, like I feel that too. But I'm not going to be the guy that says, yeah, you know what? They lost something on their fastball.
I feel bad
because then they'll turn around and rip off 2 more cups. I start,
I like the moves they made. They made some sneaky good moves. I like Ian Cole in the back end in there.
Yeah.
I like this little sneaky moves like that. They're so smart.
Yep. Yeah. They got a smart. Listen, that is a very smart organization. Their scouting is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I know I know some of the scouts, they hate it when you scotch all the picks, but they've turned them into players. You got to hand it to Julien Brisebois here. He's done a great job. And I think, going into every season, like I said, I say that John Cooper should win unless proven otherwise by someone else with a more impressive performance. But how has John Cooper now won this thing?
Yeah.
He's going to the Hall of Fame for crying out loud.
He's won at every
Jack
level.
Adams.
Every level.
He's
NAHL, USHL, AHL, NHL. The guy's a stud.
Yeah, he really is something. Yeah, he's great. Lawyers turn coaches, eh? You know what's interesting too? So I remember having a conversation with him on the podcast a few years ago and asked him what's the best team he ever coached.
Can I guess?
Sure.
Was it the Norfolk or the I can't remember the time with like
American League?
It wasn't because that AHL team is unbelievable.
It wasn't the St. Louis Bandits, was it?
No, it was not St. Louis Bandits.
So then it had to be the Green Bay Gamblers.
No, it was not.
What? Man, who was it then?
Team North America, team that didn't.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I've heard you say this before. I've heard you say this before. Colton Parayko told me that was the best team he ever played for too.
All those guys, and you know what they did? They didn't win anything.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do anything. But if you look at the Hall of Fame like 15, 20 years from now, the whole team might be on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like when you go back, like we're gonna look at that team one day. You're gonna go back like Wiki and go like, holy shit, like him and him all on the same team. Are you serious? Like,
no, absolutely.
Like we always look at you try to figure like who's the greatest team assembled, which team sent the most to the Hockey Hall of Fame. 1976 Team Canada at the 76 Canada Cup. I think they might have the most. I think in the NHL was it the 97 Wings.
Oh yeah.
It may have sent a
That
ton as
team
well,
is-
but you're gonna look at Team North America one day and go, oh my God,
Mhm.
like this is disgusting. Like, yeah, Hall of Fame. Like all these dudes, ridiculous.
That's
what Coop said was his favorite top team.
last trophy, I think, Kezo.
Yeah. So the last one, we have the Selke.
Yep.
Who do we think is going to win that one this year?
I really want, if this is Patrice Bergeron's swan song, I want Patrice Bergeron to win one more. But we're gonna go through a transition here, I think, because Selke in a lot of ways has kind of become a reputational trophy.
Yeah.
That once you're in the conversation, you're in it for a while. Like it took Ryan O'Reilly a while to get into that conversation, and he's always been in it since. Took Sean Couturier a while to get in that conversation. He's always been in it. There were some that should have been, but because they were wingers, were never ever considered. And I think of Marian Hossa right out of the gate.
Do you think wingers should have like a better chance at it?
I really think that I understand that the center's responsibilities are that much greater, and I get that, but to me, one of the great crimes of the last era is how Marian Hossa and maybe even Mikko Koivu as well finished their career without a Selke trophy.
Mikko Koivu, oh my goodness,
was so good.
Yeah, he was
such a great two-way player.
Yep.
The funny thing is, like, the Selke trophy was essentially created for a winger. It was like, man, Bob Gainey's good. We have to come up with some type of trophy for Bob Gainey, and like literally, that's how it happened. The trophy is created for a winger. The last guy to win it would have been Yuri Lettinen.
Mark Stone has been knocking on the doors.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
100%. Make the argument. It might be the best two-way player in the game when he's healthy.
Hopefully his back holds up.
Yeah, no kidding. He got like a quarter size chunk taken out. Yeah, Elliot. I think Elliot's seen the picture too. He said, "Yeah, it's gross." Stone wouldn't put it up on his blog, but so okay. I'm filibustering here. I think eventually Nico Hischier is going to get into this conversation.
Okay.
I don't know that Nico Hischier is going to win it this season.
Okay.
But I think Nico Hischier is going to get into this conversation. I think Anthony Cirelli. If I'm going to pick one, I'll take Anthony Cirelli, the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I wonder if this is the year, as we start to see New Jersey take that next step, people start to notice how good of a defensive center Nico Hischier is 5-on-5.
Oh, fair
enough. Watch that guy.
Watch that guy. All right, well, we'll end it on this because again, we've listened to you for a while. We know, you like the jersey talk a little bit. Okay, my Sharks have a new uniform.
I love it. I love. It's funny. I was just watching the game, the Germany game this evening. The highlights from it, like, oh, this looks so good.
Okay, the aways are the second best behind the Leafs. I think the Leafs home or the Leafs aways, I think, are with the blue and the shine to it. I think that they are the best. I think their aways are the second best in the league. It's the teal pants. Like I think the uniform, I've always hated the orange in their jerseys. I think that their retro, the 2D with the silver that they've used over the last while has been. I think that might be one of the best kits. But what are the jersey you're most excited to either come back, like the goat head from the Sabres, or what do you think is a jersey that you want to see more than anything back in the game?
So I loved the color scheme of the Minnesota North Stars.
Yeah,
that's a tough one too.
When the Wild use it as their third, to me it's just gorgeous.
It is.
I would love to see that back. I still maintain, and if you've listened to me long enough, you've heard me go on about this before. I think the one color that is so underrepresented in hockey is green.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't see enough green at all. I mean, there was that race, like everyone had to have the black jersey. Everyone's got their blacks. Everyone's got blacks.
The Lightnings, when when the Lightning played the Leafs. It is they're like 2010 like St. Louis LeCavier jerseys are so good, and man, they are. It is tough luck when you're watching an away game for the Leafs, and it's like you can't tell which one's which.
Even the Blues in my childhood had a black jersey. I remember at one point when they had the clown colored jerseys, and I'm praying. And Alex Steen told me this: the best jersey in hockey. I hope the Blues go back to the baby blues they wore in the Winter Classic. They're so clean. They're so classic and simple.
Funny too because the Penguins' early ones were baby blues, right? Like, and now they're all synchronized with the rest of the city of Pittsburgh. Everyone's black and gold.
Ones,
but I love the original. I love the original Penguins jersey because I love the baby blue, and I love the penguin with the beer belly.
Yeah.
And then somehow the penguin got kind of leaned out, like, started to do like CrossFit and kettlebells and stuff, and got a little bit leaned out. Not as bad as Coco with the Hershey Bears, who used to be like this really plump bear, and then they like got him in the sauna with Chris Chelios, and now he like in light matches off of Coco, the mascot. I'm like, that's not what bears look like. Like, bears don't do CrossFits. I guess that's what bears look like. Hershey, I want to see like a big chubby bear. Like, that's what a bear looks like. Greens for me, and speaking of the Maple Leafs, whenever they wear the St. Pat's, I love. Oh yeah, I love that one as well. I'll tell you what I like. You know what, your jersey I've always dug this. The New York Rangers. I've always loved the Rangers color scheme. I love simplicity of it, and I've loved the red pants. And you know what, I finally got Doug McLean to admit to me, because he was part of the design of everything with the Columbus Blue Jackets. The red pants was a total steal of the Rangers. The Columbus Blue Jackets red pants. He's like, I just love it. One night we're out having a few drinks. I'm like, dude, you totally stole the red pants from the Rangers. Come on. He's like, yeah, I did.
And they said they're going
those red pants.
They said they're going blue pants this year too, but they haven't done it yet. I'm waiting for it on the road.
The Reds are so good. But yeah, Rangers for me. And I love the Statue of Liberty logo. Beautiful.
Same.
Reminds me of Merrick Malik.
Yeah.
Merrick
Malik.
Oh, that was that was
post
lockout first year.
Hey,
that was the perfect moment.
Hey, before we let you go, me and Cam, we listen to the show every day. We call it between us two the Merrickisms, and I hear you guys talk about it like on your bingo cards. You got some of the best phrases. I don't know where you came up with them. The two bagel, the three cop. I mean, you got all these different things. Where did you come up with this stuff? Like,
I have no idea. It's funny. You know where I wonder. So I spent a lot of years working with a guy by the name of Bill Waters. Now, Bill Waters, it's funny. I just talked to him last week. Bill used to be the assistant general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Before that, he worked with Alan Eagleson as a junior agent with Eagleson's group. So he was part of 1972 in the Summit Series, part of various Canada Cups, World Championships, etc. He ran the Bobby Orr, Bill Watton sports camp, was a football player at University of Toronto, was a second overall pick in the CFL with the Toronto Argonauts. I'm like reading the bio here for Willie. Long time.
You could do that on
guy.
anyone, by the way.
No, that's not true. No, you know what my secret is? Here's the secret, guys. You want to sound like you know what you're talking about?
I can't wait. I need to know how.
Don't tell anyone, okay? If you're not sure about something, say it loud.
Oh man, I feel like I've done that in my career playing video games.
Yeah. Oh, he said it. He said it loud. He must really. Oh, yeah. Okay. He knows. Oh, yeah. He knows what he's talking about. He said that loud. Anyway, so Bill's got like this old timey sort of verbiage about like all those guys have died off now. Like there used to be like sports talk that was like that, like all the time. And I think honestly, just working with Bill for so many years, some of that may have just rubbed off on me. And you picked up like old colloquialisms. Like I'll just slip every now and then. And Cliff Fletcher is still trying to keep this alive. Every time I talk to Cliff, they're not goalies or goalers. Like somewhere along the way, like that's the original name for goaltenders, right? Goalie was goaler. And I gotta go over here, like to my right here, I got a stack of old Hockey News magazines from the 60s and 70s. And somewhere it changed from goaler to goalie and goaltender. I don't know what brought about this shit. We talk about like white whales and you're searching for things. Bill Wirtz, just ice, justice. Here's like, when do we stop calling them goalers and start calling them goalies? Like, was there one event? Was there one thing? But they used to be anyway. So all these things I've just picked up along the way. Like
I love it.
There's nothing to it, and a lot of it is too. Like I'd read a ton of stuff about hockey history. Like that's a real a huge passion of mine for finding those demarcation points, like when something changed, why it changed, whether it's goalers, whether it's, what happened to, Rover and why Rover got taken out, why the Nets look the way they do, why we went to the Art Ross puck from the original, like all these little goofy things like that. I think maybe just from reading old hockey books. And my wife always says, yeah, this must have kept you single for a lot of years. And she was right. She was right. I was the man that women forgot for a lot of years. The reason you get me now like this.
I gotta say, you are one of the most unique personalities in hockey, and you're an absolute blast to listen to. And I can't thank you enough for hopping on our podcast and talking hockey.
Hang on. Listen, thanks for that. You know why? You read that exactly as I wrote it for you. Thanks so much for saying those really kind things. Just as I wrote it on the card, you read it perfectly. That's really kind.
That's it. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for joining us, Jeff, and we hope to have you on again in the future.
Nice Ice Dogs hat. Great Warrior t-shirt too. You really went all out for me today. That's nice.
That's it.
Hey, boys, be good.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.